I have to make the decision not to be greedy. I don't want to be greedy. So what did this Joe Johnson do? He sold 50% of the returns, meaning selling 50% of his legacy that this person has owned for 30 years, to an investor. What did he accomplish?
Bankruptcy is intended to sort of almost provide somewhat of a level playing field for debtors to finally catch up with the lender's pre-petition exertion of pressure. But the lenders have a lot of rights in a bankruptcy case as well, which forces the debtor to sort of look at its problems and instead of having decision paralysis, make some faster, smarter now decisions because there's going to be somebody else deciding if that's what you've done.
Yeah, but you know what else the clients do? We have another billionaire client of ours. We'll call him Joe Johnson. And Joe owns a string of hotels, okay? Soho, West Side, East Side, very prominent figure. He made a couple of good moves that I like. He sold his soul a little bit to an investor, okay, for the opportunity for his legacy of his children not to die. So there's a few decisions that billionaires make, okay? Even thousandaires and even millionaires. But the billionaires, I want to let you know how they think, okay? I want to know what motivates them, what makes them kind of tick on one level. They're like, okay, my hotels are not making shit. They're literally on the teeter line. But I know as a billionaire investor and doing this for 30, 40 years that I'm on a down market. In an up market, I'm going to see the rains. But right now, I have to make the decision not to be greedy. I don't want to be greedy. So what did this Joe Johnson do? Who owns a string of hotels? He sold 50% of the returns, 50%, meaning selling 50% of his legacy that this person has owned for 30 years, to an investor. What did he accomplish? Number one, he never went bankrupt. Joe Johnson never went bankrupt. Number two, he sold his rights to future proceeds in exchange of preserving that person's legacy. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not that selfish, okay? I like to dress well, I like to eat well, but I think for my children. I think for my wife, my family, my community. All right? I'm a community guy. I'm a family guy. And I like what this billionaire did. I like his mindset.
He's probably one of the few that does that because in my experience, most of them they can't get out of their own way. They make decisions
they want it now.
Short term.
They want it now.
Yeah, they want to fix. And I think some of that, what our job is to explain to them that not every fix is quick, not every fix is easy. And we'd like them to all to think like, this gentleman of yours,
Joe Johnson,
to think bigger picture, think long term.
But Joe's miserable. Joe Johnson, he's miserable right now because what Joe thinks he did wrong,
that he lost half his business.
But we think about as bankruptcy lawyers as preserving the future.
Well, what we're supposed to do, what the bankruptcy court will tell you if you ever go to court and you listen to the judges when they talk about cases, bankruptcy is both intending to monetize a client's assets and preserve value. And what we try to bring to these clients is an understanding that if you can preserve value, it may not be 100% of whatever that value is, but if you preserve value, you've got something to deal with down the road, maybe to get more return, maybe to increase that value, take that piece that you do have and see if you can expand it. If you want to care about your children, you want to leave it to them, half of something is better than half of zero.
Let's talk. We talked about, that's obviously a great segue. We've spoken about those that don't understand. We've spoken about those that can preserve legacy. Now let's speak about my favorite people. Those that over leverage to save their businesses, even when they can't afford
Bane
it.
of my existence.
So let's talk about these guys. They're also billionaires. So what they'll do is they'll say, okay, I want to have my cake and I want to eat it too. Let's name this guy Ben Frazier. Okay, so Ben has an $100 million or $50 million textile business. Shit's not moving as well. It's not 1990. Okay, it's 2025. There's a lot of things that are changing, a lot of things that are moving and grooving, and the business is failing. But this person does not want to let this business go. They're married to this business. So what do? They go mortgage their house. They go borrow from their friends. And then they pay all of their debt obligations in bankruptcy or out of bankruptcy at 30% discounts, 50% discounts, 100% discounts, whatever it is. But then they're busting out the seams with debt payments. And guess what? They're back where they started in a second default after the reorganization.
I think at the end of the day, you can't help everybody make the right decisions. We can only help them make the decisions that may be best for them, even if it is just momentarily. If the client is wedded to his business, like this one is,
Ben, yeah, I guess.
you know, our job then is to ensure that what he does doesn't, in and among itself, ruin his opportunity.
But we're not financial managers.
Well,
we're restructuring people. Restructuring.
But restructuring deals with numbers and manages. And so we've got to manage his expectation, manage his business so that when we're done, if it succeeds or fails, it has nothing. Number one, I don't want it to come back to us. And I want to make sure the client looks back and says that the services that we provided were what they wanted and asked for and got what they wanted. And now, even if they need to come back and do it again, it's not because they can say that they didn't think they were advised that, hey guys, stop. I mean, one thing I like to always tell clients is stop throwing good money after bad. But I can't stop them if that's what they really want to do. I don't like clients signing guarantees. I don't like clients borrowing new money.
But they have to. They're going to tell you I have to.
They say that, but they're not always right. And our job would be to then turn around and say to them, why don't we just sell it and get rid of the assets, I've got a client now, not Ben Frazier, but let's just call him Danny B. And he's had a business for 30 years. He's been in bankruptcy a couple of times, and he doesn't want to shut it down. It has nothing to do with the fact that it loses money every year, but he's got 20 employees that he wants to keep. But I've convinced him now, after the third time around, that you don't want to keep popping in $1 million every 3 years to cover the liabilities that the company should be covering, and it doesn't have the money to do it now. And he does have real reasons, real excuses. COVID quickly adversely impacted his business, and there's no doubt about it because it dealt with travel, and nobody was traveling. My job is to then slowly help direct him towards the understanding that he doesn't want to keep doing this again. You've done it before. Stop doing it. Let's just figure out a way to get this thing finished so that you can move on to whatever else you need to do. And if we could maximize the value so that creditors aren't harmed too badly, then I think that client will walk away saying this was the right decision.